TikTok is back online after going dark for 12 hours. It chose to shut itself down over divestment. The abrupt appearance came just minutes before a U.S. law banning the app took effect on Sunday, and one day before Donald Trump returns to office. But now the app, along with its 170 million American users, about half of the country's population, thank him for restoring its operation. Uncertainty remains over this quick fix, while the president and the company will try to work out a long-term solution, most likely in the next 90 days, as he earlier promised. More dramatically, days earlier, many TikTokers who call themselves TikTok refugees flocked to the Chinese app RedNote or Xiaohongshu, learning some Mandarin along the way. So, questions now: can Trump eventually save TikTok? What will happen after the 90-day reprieve ends? How long will American users stay on RedNote? Welcome to The Point, an opinion show coming to you from Beijing. I'm Wang Mengmang, sitting in for Liu Xin. I'm pleased to be joined from Davis, California by Steve Hoffman, CEO and chairman of Founderspace. From Los Angeles, California by Joseph Noble, American influencer on TikTok and RedNote. Also from Beijing by Lu Xiang, research fellow of Institute of American Studies at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. A very warm welcome to all of you. So let me begin with you, Joseph. How do you feel after this roller coaster ride? It went down for 12 hours or so. Now it's back up again. How do you feel?
It was definitely a weird experience. We all got notifications, and it was saying by the end of the day it was going to go away. And about 15 minutes later, the app was completely inaccessible. So I definitely had group chats of friends that were frantically wondering what's going on. For a lot of us, it's been our daily habit of entertainment. So it's been just a really interesting feeling to see where it's all going. And the fact that a lot of people run their businesses out of there, it's just been interesting to see how it's going to all develop, only for it to come back a couple hours later. We're relieved, but it definitely has been a roller coaster.
I know you're also on RedNote. Do you plan to stick to it while TikTok is back on?
I definitely do. I have really been enjoying RedNote. I found like a huge sense of community there. Everyone's been super welcoming, and it's been a lot of fun talking to everybody, and especially they have a translation feature now, so the language barrier isn't an issue. So it's been great talking to people from all over.
Well, Steve, let's get your thoughts on this. Trump planned to ban this app during his first term in office, and he was considered the father of this ban, and now he's trying to restore it. So why the change of stance, and what might his intentions be here, trying to restore this whole story here?
Well, Trump reversed himself, but he often reverses himself. He does it all the time. Why he reversed himself is very clear. Look, 170 million Americans are on TikTok. 7 million small businesses are on TikTok. Many of these creators and small businesses, it's their livelihood. If they lose, they'll lose. They can't pay their rent. They can't go out to eat. They can't buy groceries if TikTok goes away. And if you look at it, the effect on the U.S. economy is quite substantial. TikTok contributes around $24 billion to the U.S. economy and $15 billion to small businesses. So Trump wants to be on the side of the people. He doesn't want to be the guy, the Grinch who stole Christmas, the guy who takes TikTok away. So that's why he's doing it. It's all political.
Now, Mr. Liu, Trump is considering an executive order to give TikTok a 90-day ban reprieve, an extension. But the question is, can such an executive order effectively halt the ban? It's gained substantial support, bipartisan support from the Congress, and it's not an easy job to just undo a law passed by Congress.
First of all, President-elect Trump didn't specify how long is the extension or reprieve for TikTok, but it's generally understood that it will be 90 days. But I believe 90 days is not a fixed period. It could be longer, as long as there is a possible deal Now, Mr. Trump is proposing a 50-50 joint venture between the current between the investors and American investors. He didn't specify very clearly what is the American investors, but I think with the after his inauguration, he will have an executive order in which we can see a clear specification of how he would like to see a deal, how to reorganize the TikTok US. I think a reasonable reorganization is accepted to all parties concerned.
Well, what could possibly happen in this period of 90 days, this extension period? I mean, we had 270 days for this law to take effect and for TikTok to work out a solution that may not be banned in the US. What could happen this time? How would this time be different, Steve?
Okay, so first of all, we can look back to the 2020 ban. After the executive order of Mr. Trump, that time, actually TikTok proposed to have a joint venture with Oracle and Walmart. But unfortunately, later, the proposal was suspended, and no side continued that deal. And now I think on the TikTok side, they can initiate again a similar proposal to have some American partners to join in the new joint venture. I mean, the TikTok US might be a China-US joint venture in the future, but the term has to be reasonable. I think TikTok would like to see a reasonable arrangement of a new joint venture. It's no problem, but the key is we will see the negotiation between TikTok and the potential partners, new partners, I mean, and how the attitude will be. I mean, the attitude of the U.S. government. There will be an examination of the proposal, how the JVA will work, and how the new board of directors will be composed. So a lot of things to do in the following days, maybe 90 days, maybe longer.
Very fast developing situation here. We have no idea what's likely to happen in this 90-day period. Steve, how do you look at this? What could be the negotiations during this extension period, and what are some of the likely outcomes from these negotiations? I mean, for example, an acceptable non-Chinese buyer, but the parent company ByteDance seems not ready to put a price tag on its very valuable asset.
That's exactly right. ByteDance has been dragging its feet in terms of closing a deal. They could have closed it earlier with Oracle and Walmart, but they don't want to sell it. ByteDance does not want to sell TikTok. Now, I think ByteDance realizes that they have no choice. The Supreme Court has spoken. ByteDance has to sell TikTok. So now they're going to seriously enter negotiations. The question is, who is going to be the buyer? If you look at the situation, you have to look at it through a political lens. So Donald Trump, he is probably going to steer ByteDance towards a buyer that reflects his political views. So conservative views, Republican views. So if you imagine potential buyers, which one would Donald Trump want? Well, there's one obvious choice, Elon Musk. He owes Elon Musk. And let's assume Elon Musk wants TikTok. He's in a position to get it. Now, there will be others. There will be competition. So legally, it should have to go to the highest bidder. But we will see how this plays out. It's going to be very, very interesting because it's not just about legal. It's about politics. And ByteDance's CEO knows he's beholden to Trump. So they are going to be talking about where TikTok goes next.
Joseph, the ownership of this app, TikTok, does it matter to you in terms of the content on the social media platform or the algorithm that's, keeping these users glued to this video sharing app?
I do. So with it already coming back into the store, that's already been a big source of conversation. People are already kind of wondering if it's already been sold or who it's going to be sold to and whether or not they'll continue with the app, depending on who the buyer is. Because of just how the political landscape is in America right now, I do think that there is a lot of value and a lot of kind of social stance on who purchases it and whether or not we'll continue using it. Um, because there's a lot that they can steer the algorithm towards and a lot that will change how we usually use TikTok.
TikTok is so important for people who spend hours a day, trying to find news, entertainment, lifestyle suggestions, for example, and so who also make a living there. Tell us about some of the immediate impact that you felt or you or your friends felt from this ban, which lasted for like 12 hours or so. Now it's back on, but what's been the reactions there?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, there are a lot of people that run their livelihood through TikTok. So I'm actually somebody that sells through TikTok Shop as well, and I make and create things. So when we had like the 13 minutes notice before it shut down, all the sales that I had made that hadn't gone through yet were void. And so I thought, that was just going to be gone. But I'm somebody that has a job outside of TikTok, but there's so many people that is their only income and that is their livable income. So for those people, once TikTok went away, that was probably like a hit in the gut because where do you continue on from there, especially when your fate and your business and your livelihood is no longer in your hands?
Well, Steve, is the TikTok ban justified on national security grounds? Because some people argue that this is also, since the user base is so broad, this is also against freedom of expression. Tell me your thoughts on this, please.
There's two sides to this coin. So on one side, we have freedom of speech. So everybody, every organization, every person has the right to talk. No, the government cannot shut them down unless they do something very illegal. On the other hand, the Supreme Court ruled that TikTok is an exception because we all know there's tension between China and the United States, and they viewed TikTok as a national security threat, meaning the data in TikTok is so valuable and it reaches so many Americans, 170 million Americans, that this data, they believe, should be in American hands. So that was the ruling. They also are very concerned with a few use cases. One is government officials. Government officials using TikTok and being tracked on their location. Number two, AI. We all know data today is extremely valuable in building the next generation of AI. So the U.S. wants to make sure the data of its citizens are controlled by U.S. corporations. That is the fundamental issue.
Mr. Liu, is it really about privacy concerns, or could it be that the U.S. wants to control the algorithm so it can censor or shadow block certain content?
Yes,
actually,
absolutely.
Let's get Mr. Liu on this question, please.
Oh, me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Actually, after the 2020 ban, TikTok has proposed many ways to avoid threat to the U.S. national security. First of all, the data will be stored in servers based in U.S. And specifically it is Oracle. And they also pledged to abide all U.S. laws about privacy and user data. As I said, TikTok is one of the companies who is especially strict in compliance to each national each national laws the TikTok is covering. So there's no serious threat to the U.S. Security. It's unfortunate that we see the courts, either the D.C. Appeal Court and the the Federal Supreme Court, have not considered TikTok's claim that it has strict measures to avoid any break of U.S. laws. So it's a pity. Now, we know that the law cannot be changed, but we have a new U.S. government, and we see a new opportunity to do something. How to say, to have a remedy to the possible harms made by the congressional act, and we see a possibility for TikTok to have an agreement with the U.S. government after a certain kind of restructuring. I believe TikTok US has to make a kind of restructuring based on the current situation. But the bottom line is that TikTok is not going to sell itself. It's just, the thing is that it will have some new partners in the US. It's not a sale, it's a partnering. It's a JV, it's a joint venture in the term of Donald Trump.
So Mr. Liu said TikTok will have to undergo some serious restructuring. Now, Steve, what about President Trump? Does he have other choices? I mean, can the president really stop U.S. Department of Justice from enacting this law?
We don't know. So this is unprecedented. You know, a president isn't supposed to be able to overturn a law passed by our Congress on an executive order. So this has not been done. It has not been tested before. Many legal experts actually think President Trump should have taken a different approach. There's a provision in the law that allows for the extension of time if there are serious negotiations going on to sell the company. So that is another avenue that he didn't pursue. He's saying he's going to issue an executive order, but there's another avenue he could pursue. My belief, though, is TikTok isn't going down. If President Trump wants it up, if President Trump wants it live, it's going to stay live until he decides he doesn't want it up, because the Republicans control both houses right now in Congress, and that's probably what's going to happen.
So, Joseph, if President Trump signs an executive order, will TikTok users return to this app as perhaps a peace of mind? Because when they left, or when they were forced to leave this platform, they were mostly following, registering on Red Note as a result of protest. It was a gesture to protest what the government did.
Yes, it definitely was an act of protest. I do feel like there will be some people that will stay. I personally am going to be somebody that will be staying. But I do feel like the masses might return back to TikTok because it is just more familiar to them. And I think there's a lot of cultural differences in the apps themselves that I feel like it's easier for them to just stick to what they want or what they know. And so there's just that learning curve that I feel like when people don't have to do it, they won't. So it just kind of, I did think depends on the person, but I think the majority of them might be heading back over to TikTok if it becomes available. But I do know that so many people have loved the transition over to Red Note because everyone's just been so positive. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting. It'll be fun to see how it all turns out.
So there was a lot of discussion about the people-to-people exchanges that were happening on Red Note, another Chinese social media platform. TikTokers from the United States, as well as Chinese users, they're really embracing a different culture, way of life, languages as well. This is something also unprecedented.
Definitely. I really have been enjoying it. It's been really exciting because, as we're talking, they'll be educating me on different things. People will be tagging me and things to let me know what's going on in their cities. I'll be showing them things that are going on within mine. So it feels like even though there's all these distance and all these language barriers, it feels like we're maybe living a couple cities apart from each other. So it is just it's strange because it's such a huge sense of community within that app, that everyone's just been so welcoming to, with all these foreigners joining your guys' app. And it's been nice to have that welcoming gesture for us.
It's all about connections and community building, isn't it? Now, Mr. Liu, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Trump said that he would be open to a 50-50 joint partnership as TikTok. But according to the New York Times, China has the final say on any sale of TikTok. I mean, this comes due to a change to its export rules in 2020, which gives the Chinese government power to block the sale of restricted technologies. Your thoughts on this? Do you think China will really allow TikTok to be sold?
Actually, Chinese law doesn't have any specific clause concerning TikTok. It's about a certain kind of technology, a certain kind of algorithm. Yes, if TikTok now TikTok US uses the same algorithm as they used in China, and I think they got a license from the China entity. So for any further deal, they need to have a license from the Beijing-based entity. So the law doesn't forbid such kind of license, but any kind of license will have to be approved to have a prior approval of the government. So this is why I say the final deal will have to be acceptable to all parties. I mean, by all parties, I mean it includes Chinese government.
Well, Steve, I want to ask you this because this is not the first time that TikTok was being banned in a foreign country, in another country. Similar incident happened in India, for example, but that really hasn't stopped TikTok from expanding, from gaining this broad user base, which essentially doubled from year 2020 to 2024. Now, do you think that this ban from the US this time would prevent TikTok from gaining more international popularity?
I believe if the US actually bans TikTok, and I don't believe the US will, I think a compromise will be worked out between all parties and TikTok will continue to go on under joint ownership. So I don't think it will be banned. But if the US government, if they cannot reach an agreement and the US government totally bans TikTok in the US, it might set a precedent for other US allies to do the same. So that could potentially slow down TikTok's growth. I mean, seriously impede the growth of TikTok overseas. However, if the ban doesn't go through, this is a temporary glitch and TikTok will continue to grow worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Well, some Americans, since you are also on Red Note, Steve, some American users really they've shown this great interest in understanding Chinese culture and how daily life is here in China. And they also report feeling that they have been lied to by their government and media. Do you have the same feeling, or how is the vibe on these two different social media platforms different?
So I'm on Red Note too, and I'm on TikTok. I have, my videos on TikTok, some of them have millions of views. My videos on Red Note are growing really, really fast. So I have lots of communication with people across China, and I'm looking at what's going on, and it's wonderful. This I call it the silver lining of the TikTok ban. So the silver lining is that it is bringing together people from average, ordinary people from China and the U.S., and the vibe is really good. People are asking, like Americans are asking Chinese. They're saying, you drink your water warm? We always drink ice water, cold water. Why do you do that? Why do you drink warm water? How much do meals cost in China? It's so much cheaper. So back and forth, they're asking questions, comparing notes, forming friendships. So I think, and personally for me, this is a great opportunity for the average person in China and the average person in the US to gain a better understanding, a cultural exchange that we didn't have before. So I hope it goes on. I'm going to continue on RedNote.
Joseph, what about you? What are some of the silver linings you felt from this roller coaster ride?
I would definitely have to agree, exactly. Just the questions that we're all asking each other, just that basic communication of, what's going on in your country? Oh, this is going on in yours. And then finding those familiarities. There's been a lot of things that, if I post something like, oh my goodness, he goes through the same things that we do, and the same things when I watch other people's. So it's bridging that gap that I feel that people, especially in my generation, knew there wasn't a divide, but now we can actually see and interact with each other and kind of bridge that gap and know that we were right the whole time.
Mr. Liu, some final thoughts from you. RedNote is gaining popularity. It still has a long way to become really America's new TikTok. But the question is, with many Americans now using this Chinese app, will RedNote eventually get banned?
So first of all, actually, it's an unexpected result that RedNote got noticed because of TikTok. So there are two totally different apps, and RedNote has been only targeting at Chinese netizens, Chinese users. You don't see English interface of it. Everything is in Chinese, but now it attracted so many American users, so it's fascinating. And I think it's maybe 500,000 US users has already moved to RedNote. But in terms of in the world of the internet, it's not big number. It's small, a very small number compared to the 170 million TikTok users in the US. So RedNote cannot in any way replace the function of TikTok. And I believe after kind of compromise and negotiations, TikTok will be in the US market for a long time. And it will benefit all parties concerned.
What exactly is like to happen to TikTok, we do not know, and we'll keep watching in the next 90 days or so. I'd like to thank our guests here, Steve Hoffman and Joseph Nobo, and Mr. Liu Xiang. Thank you so much for your analysis. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point. I'm Wang Mengmang, sitting in for Liu Xin. On behalf of the whole team here, thanks for watching. You got the point.